Over the past couple of weeks, I moved to another house, got COVID, and lost internet. In my state of boredom, I couldn't log into StarCraft 2, so I played Warcraft 3 instead, with one goal in mind. Grant played through SC2 with basic units, so I figured I could do the same thing with Warcraft 3, and asked a great question that's on nobody's mind. Is it possible to beat Warcraft 3 with just using Footmen? First up, a clarification of the rules. I can only use Footmen unless there is literally no other way to proceed through the mission. That means that unlike my previous runs, I cannot use heroes or other starting units. I can build guard towers for defense, but cannot build cannon towers. I also am playing on hard difficulty on the original Warcraft 3 campaign. I never bought Reforged, and I'm running a setup that does not connect to Battle.net to avoid any Reforged shenanigans, which means that I do not have access to any of the campaign changes that are about to come on upcoming patches. If you play this campaign on a future patch, you may have a different experience than I had here. There's honestly not much you can do to make the defensive Strombrad become a difficult mission. Since Arthas is taking his mandated lunch break, I can't use him to rescue the Footmen in the village, but that doesn't matter. Arthas has trained his soldiers to ignore any and all distractions, so I rush the objective, pausing only to rescue the 3 Footmen already fighting in the city. With a bit of micro, this mission is over very quickly. Blackrock and Roll is also a very easy mission. Uther is basically an invincible defender to the point where that even if I tried to kill him, it would take a long time because of Divine Shield. The only challenge is the bonus objective. A group of dwarves stand next to the base ranting about a flying dragon and demanding to speak to Arthas about it. Since Footmen can honorably duel things that fly, I use the opportunity to send a message to anyone who thinks they're above my noble Footmen. I kill all the dwarves and learn that it is in fact possible to get a failed quest message for this. The rest of the level is easy. I build up a bunch of Footmen and kill everything. Next up, Arthas meets up with his friend Jaina, and they go on a quiet date together. With 1 captain and 2 footmen to my name, I need to ask a question. Is the captain a footman? My answer is clear. Obviously it is. The captain looks like a footman, it gains upgrades with footmen, even learns to fend like a footman does. So yes, captains are okay to use. Unfortunately, without Arthas and Jaina, there are way too many enemies for me to fight in this mission without dying. The good news is, I don't need to fight anything. Arthas' soldiers ignore the bandits, walk past murlocs in the river, run past skeletons, and ignore whatever creepy ritual this necromancer is performing. They do stop briefly to kill a couple of suspected witches, but then continue onwards to destroy the grain warehouse. Ravages of the Plague is completed in 3 minutes and 48 seconds. The Cult of the Damned is the first somewhat difficult mission on the run. Arthas and Jaina leave to report the infested grain to Uther, forcing a bunch of footmen to hunt down the necromancer responsible for the plague. I decide not to build guard towers quite yet, which makes the first few attack waves somewhat difficult to manage. But with constant footmen production and a bit of micro, it's doable. I build up a small army before mining out of gold and realize I have a problem. There is a massive undead base to my north with a ton of spirit towers and constant reinforcements that my army can't beat. I could try to expand, but the enemy attacks frequently and leaving my base undefended seems like a bad idea. I want to avoid a direct fight, so I move all my footmen through the enemy base and rush the objective. As soon as I bypass the base, the cutscene plays and Arthas and Jaina show up? Weird. Well, I move command them into the undead base by themselves while my army kills Kel'Thuzad. Moving on. March of the Scourge is the level where I give in and realize I have to build guard towers. There are 3 reasons why guard towers are necessary for me in this campaign. The first, obviously, is that they hit air, but that's not actually relevant on this mission. The second is that towers are really good while footmen are pretty bad, but I could normally work around that. The third, most important reason is upkeep. While StarCraft encourages you to build a huge army as soon as possible, Warcraft 3 actually punishes you for doing this. If your supply goes over 40, you have to pay a 3 gold upkeep tax every time your peasant mines from a gold mine. If your supply goes over 70, this upkeep is increased to 6 gold. Footmen cost supply, which means that building a ton of footmen will actually stop me from getting more reinforcements in the long run. Towers, however, don't cost supply, so I can build as many as I want. I build a massive towers in the middle of my base, luring enemies into them with my footmen force. The AI seems to prioritize targeting my footmen over targeting the towers, so I can actually wait for my towers to soften up enemy attack waves before committing to the fight. I try to focus dangerous enemies like meat wagons and necromancers first, while letting my towers take the melee troops. I can't take out the bonus objective, and the final wave breaks my defenses, but I last long enough to beat the level. The Culling is an interesting level. Mal'Ganis is trying to turn villagers into zombies, and to stop it, Arthas wants to cull the nearby village before he gets there. Thankfully, he gets convinced by Uther to abandon this reckless slaughter. Unfortunately, Arthas' troops are inspired by his speech, and kill all the knights who swore loyalty to Uther. Then they set their eyes on the village with bloodlust. Normally in this mission, you can buy a bit of time by killing Mal'Ganis on the map, forcing him to respawn while you kill villagers. With Footmen, I really don't want to have a direct fight if I can help it. I send multiple squads of Footmen to different parts of the map, building up just enough base defenses to not die. I then start killing villagers as fast as I can. While playing this mission, I learned something really interesting. The Mal'Ganis AI is very distractible. When he eventually does find my Footmen, he will sometimes abandon taking villagers and chase my Footmen all the way across the map until they die. This gives my other clearing squads the time they need to collect 100 villagers and beat the level. Upon realizing what his soldiers have done without him, Arthas retakes command of his forces to restore a semblance of order in this bloodlusted group that can't tell friend from foe. He exiles his troops to the distant land of Northrend and gives them an impossible task: put Mal'Ganis in jail for his crimes. When they arrive on shore, Arthas double-checks the ship inventory while sending a scouting force to look for a gold mine. My Footmen and captain run through a bunch of creeps and reach a dwarven base, led by Muradin Bronzebeard. Arthas and Muradin catch up while Arthas' army murders all of the potentially infected dwarves. The aggression begins pretty quickly on this level, so I try to use my starting gold to build as many Footmen and guard towers as I can. Once I'm feeling secure, I get upgrades and hang out on 40 supply to build up as much of a bank as I can until I get bored. Eventually, I build a bigger army of Footmen, take out Purple, and rescue the Dwarven expansion while murdering the Dwarf station there. I wait for an attack wave to leave the base, then strike, hoping to kill the green base when nobody is home. The attack goes disastrously. I kill 2 spirit towers before I dive the Black Citadel. I bring it down to about 350 HP before my army gets completely wiped out. I'm now stuck with 600 gold and no army. After a long period of waiting for enough income to build another army, I try again. This time, I wait for the enemy Lich to leave the base before striking, and the attack goes much better. I overwhelm the defenses and kill the entire base, while my guard towers successfully hold back the attack wave. Still, this is a bit of a hollow victory. If it took this much effort to destroy Mal'Ganis' fake base, how hard will it be to destroy his real base? Before I can find out, Arthas realizes something really horrifying. There's infected grain stored on the ships they used to get the Northrend. Desperate to save his exiled soldiers at all costs, Arthas does something he has yet to do: actually step in and sink the ships himself. Sadly, you don't actually get any Footmen Dissension, which means I need to beat this level normally. Or, mostly normally. Even though I'm not using any restrictions here, I might be the first person ever to bring a level 1 itemless Arthas into this level, which means that instead of being a support tank, he's actually fairly squishy. Still, it's not too bad and the level goes by fairly quickly, but this does raise a concern about non-base levels in future campaigns. They may not be as simple as I initially thought. I've now gotten to Frostmourne and this level is a nightmare. Arthas and Muradin go off on a quest to find a sword that will help Arthas become the ultimate Footman, but it's going to take a while to find it, leaving his men to fend off Mal'Ganis while they're gone. I don't have much time before the attacks begin, so I quickly kill off all my non-Footmen units while mining gold and training as many Footmen as I can. After holding off the initial attacks, I take my small army and go up north, killing the green expansion and taking it for myself. I build a bunch of guard towers at the expansion to defend against green's attack waves, and get all the upgrades I need. It's at this point I realize something interesting about the level. When you don't get Frostmourne, Mal'Ganis never joins the attack waves against your base, making defending much easier than it is otherwise. I expand a second time before building up an army. I have an upgrade advantage on the undead right now, and I want to use that as much as possible before they catch up, even if that means going into high upkeep for a while. I wait for Purple to send in an attack wave, smash it with my army, and then invade Purple's base. Purple falls in short order, but Green's base is a problem. They have a lot of static defense, 6 production structures that they will rebuild, and worst of all, an infinitely respawning Mal'Ganis. If I try to invade without dealing with this Dreadlord, he will pick apart and destroy my forces. Unfortunately, I also can't kill him. This level has a trigger so that if you kill Mal'Ganis before grabbing Frostmourne, he will revive exactly where he died before move commanding back to his base. I'm left with only one option. Before I can move against the green base, I need to make Mal'Ganis atone for his crimes, by putting him in jail. This operation takes me a few times to get right, but eventually I manage to very carefully kite him into my guard towers in front of my base. I lose a lot of footmen doing this, but it is absolutely worth it. Once he's entered the box, I need to move quickly to prevent him from escaping. I finish up my jail cell with a wall of towers, retreat my footmen through a tiny crack in the cell, and bam! Mal'Ganis is now completely helpless for the rest of the mission. He's stuck in a death loop, and every time he dies, he drops an Ankh of Reincarnation. It's beautiful. I create another line of guard towers further up, because green is still sending attack waves, and if the jail cell breaks for even a second, Mal'Ganis will escape. I do not want to be fighting anywhere near him. However, even without Mal'Ganis being there to defend, this green base is not easy to break. My next task is to kill the Black Citadel and all of the Acolytes, but before I can do that, I need more money. So I wait until low upkeep until I get bored, then build a huge army of footmen to try and dive the Black Citadel. Attacking a Black Citadel with a bunch of swords is about as efficient as you'd expect it to be, but it does work. I dive bomb the Citadel and kill all of the Acolytes while sacrificing every footman in my army. With 5 racks production and a massive bank, I build up my second army quickly and move in again, this time with the goal of taking out production. My second wave takes out a crypt and a Temple of the Dam before it's overwhelmed. My gold mines are running out, so I sacrifice my presence to the undead to free up more supply for an even bigger army. I send in a third wave, which takes out 2 spirit towers, a boneyard, and almost kills the slaughterhouse before falling. My bank of 13,000 gold is completely dried up at this point, and I only have 1 mining gold mine. I quickly send in a squad of 12 footmen to eliminate the slaughterhouse, then retreat and wait for an attack wave before moving in again. Thankfully, wave 4 is what finally breaks this base. Without their production, the base falls before my never-ending horde of swords, and I can finally say that it's possible to beat Warcraft 3 with... Wait. The level isn't over. I still need to get Frostmourne. I tried to cheese this section with footmen by giving Arthas 2 amulets of recall in the previous mission, but unfortunately, the editor checks for that and removes any items that can move units from one place to another from their inventory at the start of the mission. Any scrolls of Town Portal and amulets of recall cannot be carried over to this mission. The waygate in the south of the map is just for show too. It isn't active and I can't send any units through it. Without any other options, Arthas and Muradin go on the quest to find the sword, and with no time limit, it's pretty easy to get. When Arthas returns to his base, he finds Mal'Ganis locked up in jail and the undead threat completely taken care of. With that, I can now claim that it is possible to complete Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos with only footmen. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.